What is up, everyone? It is Scott here at Beatty's Beat. Round of 16 is complete at World Cup 2022. That means the quarters are set, and I'll get to previewing them in a minute. But first, let's talk about the noteworthy stories of the first knockout round. We had everything from blowouts to games coming down to the slimmest of margins, with two matches decided on penalties. The shock of all shocks this tournament will probably remain Saudi Arabia over Argentina on the third day of the tournament. But in terms of a result that is really shaping and having a huge impact on this World Cup is Morocco putting Spain out on penalties today. The match was a 0-0 draw. Spain had 77% of the possession as expected, but Spain's attackers Olmo, Asensio, Ferran Torres, Soler, Morata, Nico Williams, Ansu Fati, and Sarabia, who came on in the 118th minute, could not fashion a goal for themselves after 2 hours of play. Now, there are lots of people accusing Spain of a choke job, and while it's fair to hold it against them that this was a tie they should really be progressing from, Morocco is not a shabby team whatsoever, as they've shown us all throughout the tournament. Funnily enough, I was still backing Spain and Brazil as my two top teams, even as of this morning. Although when I looked again during the Spain and Morocco match, having nothing to do really with Spain not being able to crack through, that happens to teams, and sometimes you just have tough matches where you have to grind through it. But I was looking at their lineup and I asked myself, are Danny Olmo and Asensio going to go down in World Cup history as champions? No. But back to Morocco, the team that really deserves the attention here. They showed Croatia a tough time both defensively and going forward in the first match of their tournament. Ultimately, that ended 0-0. The only goal that they've allowed all tournament has been an own goal against Canada. I really think that Morocco are the stingiest defense in the tournament. And what is most amazing is that, and it is amazing enough that the coach has led them to such success on his own with basically four recognizable names in the team entering this World Cup in Hakimi, Mazraoui, Ziyech, and Boufal. This manager joined up in the team with this team in August, not even 6 months ago. Briefly on the backstory of the manager who was sacked before him, Vahid Halilhodzic. This was the third time he had been sacked going into a World Cup that he had successfully qualified for. The two previous times were with Japan and Ivory Coast. I didn't have enough time to do the research on why he was sacked prior to the tournament with those two teams, but you can make that up. Being sacked before a World Cup that you qualified for. But he is the one, Halilhodzic, was the one who pushed Ziyech to retire from international football. Insane the roller coaster. Just imagine the roller coaster that these Moroccan fans must have been on in the last 6 months. You're a country that has not had huge success on the world stage in your history. I remember they were in the 98 World Cup, but they were in a group with Brazil, and I can't recall them winning African Cup of Nations. So, anyway, not to dwell on that, but rewind to August, and arguably your best player who plays for Chelsea has made himself unavailable because he's not getting along with the coach, a guy who's really excelled for Ajax in the Champions League and gets a move to Chelsea and is a really supremely talented player. He says, I don't want to play for Morocco due to this Halilhodzic character. And so they sack him. They bring in some unknown guy in Walid Regragui. Hopefully that was close enough. I apologize. I really need to get this guy's name right with what he has accomplished. leading this team to the quarterfinals, the furthest an Arab nation has made it in World Cup history, and also making himself the first African manager to do so. So really a huge deal of credit, and not just because they made it to this stage, and that's something very easy to say. These TV networks will say, "Oh, what a great job he's done." No, seriously, they have really impressed me with how they've set up defensively, and really, I can't highlight enough. The guy's got four recognizable names in this team: the left back, the right back, the left winger, and the right winger. And while tactically world football places importance on those positions, I mean, if you're putting a team together, you would probably want your name players to be kind of playing through the middle. But anyway, Morocco has really just had a fantastic tournament. Um, and yeah, I don't really view it as a choke for Spain. Again, like I said, sometimes you have those. I'm not trying to make excuses for them, and sure, they should have progressed from this fixture, but I don't see this as some sort of, oh my God, shock. How did Morocco do it? No, Morocco were just as good as Spain on the day, and they deserve to go through. So make no mistake about it. Excuse me. The other darling of this World Cup we got to talk about for just a second. Japan was only just ousted by Croatia via penalties. They played really valiantly, and this was by no means a letdown for Japan because they played their way. I have to give credit to Japan and Morocco for being exciting counterattacking teams. Um, while playing the upsetters this tournament, so many teams when they set up to park the bus just have no ambition. They're just hanging on for dear life and hoping that some miracle happens at the other end of the pitch. This isn't the case with Japan and Morocco. I mean, the Saudis basically did what I was just referring to as far as parking the bus, standing on their head, and just praying for dear life. But Japan and Morocco do things, the interesting way. They do frustrate the teams that they play against, but it doesn't make for a boring watch when they play. I can't say that I fully understand Japan's strategy because they continually left their most skillful players on the bench. But clearly, this Japan manager has the respect and the buy-in from this group, and that's really how they had all of their success. They were against all odds. They topped the group of death between Spain and Germany, and of course Germany not making it through. So we'll remember you, Japan, from this World Cup. And speaking of legacy, I'm loving this World Cup on the whole, serving up the best kinds of shocks. As an analogy, sometimes in March Madness you root for the biggest of upsets, but then that ends up screwing the whole rest of the tournament because, yeah, it's great that one David beats one Goliath, but then it's just the next Goliath up, and then it ends up being a complete blowout. And yeah, there have been 3 blowouts this tournament. England over Iran, Spain over Costa Rica, Brazil over Korea. That was a bad one, and now actually a fourth, Portugal over. Completely blanking on who Portugal over Switzerland. But yeah, I mean, even in the case of Iran, they came back to show some dignity, and they very easily could have qualified from their group despite the thrashing from England. So they came back to sort of save some face there, and even Costa Rica. I mean, they for half a second were progressing and putting both Germany and Spain out in tandem with Japan. So anyway, there could have been. My point is there could have been so many more blowout games that you would have predicted. Netherlands playing Qatar. Obviously, the Saudis were expected to get trounced by Argentina, and yet they pulled off one of the all-time World Cup shocks. So, yeah, I'm just loving the unpredictability of this World Cup. Um, and yeah, all right. So enough about the past. Let's look ahead to the rest of this tournament. I know we have 8 great teams left, and they're going to serve up some great matchups. I'm expecting some tremendous showdowns all the way through. So let's just take them in order. On Friday, 10 a.m., Croatia, Brazil. We know how this one is going to play out. Croatia is going to do what they do. Brazil will have the bulk of the ball. Croatia will do their best to frustrate them, and Croatia have shown their good and their bad side this tournament. Mostly good, though. They opened up against Morocco. I was there at the Sukar household. It was a great watch party, but that was a bit of a dud of a match. Again, we got to see. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me serve up the next background. So yeah, Croatia I think started the tournament slow, but ever since have really picked up their steam and played the way that we all expect them to. Um, yeah, so since the Morocco match, the goals have been coming through, and they've shown what experience they have in this tournament. Obviously, we know they got to the previous World Cup final, and they've really been showing that same DNA is running through this team. Backs against the wall, no problem for this team, and they'll need it Friday morning. As for Brazil, I've been trying not to get swept up in this Brazil team. They've got loads of talent, it's undeniable. A lot of players I can't stand, in Vinicius and Neymar, amongst others. I think Richarlison is a bit of a knobhead, but I think he is a very good player, and I think he's deserving of the success that he's having. I'm not surprised by it. But yeah, as I was saying, Brazil have loads of talent. That doesn't bring you all the way. You can't just have talent. You got to be a good team. I'm still trying to get a read on this team and see if they have that championship knack or if they're just similar to the Brazil teams that we've seen ever since 1998. Or I'm sorry, since 2002 is the last time they won. It's been 20 years. In the meantime, they are breezing through this tournament. So while I'm doing my calculus and trying to figure out if they've got this hashtag champion DNA, they are just rolling and rollicking right through this tournament. So I'll be hoping that Croatia can serve up another World Cup 2022 surprise, and that would be a major one. Regardless of Croatia's pedigree and resume, Brazil, has to be just the top favorite. I think pretty clearly so for the rest of this tournament. But it'll be interesting, and Brazil will not be looking forward to playing Croatia because, and again, as I said earlier, similar to Japan and Morocco, not that I'm putting Croatia on that level, but Croatia are still an interesting team despite being a team that is going to set up to frustrate Brazil. And yeah, I think the Canada match is a pretty good idea for what this Croatia team is about. From the second minute on, it was looking pretty grim for Croatia and their chances through the rest of the World Cup, but they came roaring back and they ended up winning that game 4-1. And I think that's a huge testament to the character this team has, and they'll want to keep the momentum going. All right, moving on from that match, you've got Netherlands-Argentina, which is going to be a boxing match on Friday. I think this is going to serve up quite a good game. As opposed to England-France, I'll get to in a second. But I think these teams are two pretty different teams. Van Gaal always likes to shake up the tactics, and I think they'll probably set up, pretty similarly to the way that they played the U.S., and similar to some things that I just said about Croatia. Netherlands really showed their class, control, composure against the United States. Obviously, Argentina will bring something different. They have a bit more quality. Again, I always think that Argentina is a disjointed team. Um, Messi being a godlike figure, it just doesn't make for a great team dynamic. There's very little fluidity. But we shall see. Argentina's probably, a lot of people are still back in that train, and I think that has a lot to do with the media and pumping up Messi and all that. But I think this will be an interesting one. Again, aside from Netherlands kind of sitting back and soaking up some pressure and then hitting the, I mean, again, Netherlands have played really well too. They obviously aren't going to be afraid to be in possession of the ball. They've got a lot of talented and technical players. Dumfries is having another great major tournament. Gakpo continues to have a breakout tournament. Memphis has had a great last match out against the United States, and yeah, the Dutch defense is looking pretty good as well as their unknown goalkeeper who's 6'8". So that'll be an interesting one. And yeah, the last time Netherlands played Argentina with a monster goalkeeper, Dennis Bergkamp, his name was shouted through the microphone with that beautiful 60-yard ball from Frank de Boer. So I'll be rooting for the same end result on Friday. Then Saturday morning, I won't really touch too much on the Portugal-Morocco match. Obviously, Portugal crushed Switzerland today. Poor Shaqiri. But yeah, I think it was just a bit too much for Switzerland. Obviously, a really interesting headline is Portugal better without Ronaldo? Ronaldo getting benched, kind of sending a message to him. I don't know. There's so much similar things, obviously, that surround Messi, surround Ronaldo, and even more so now that he's more at the end of his career. He tore up his contract with United. Now he's earning a gazillion dollars going to Saudi Arabia. He doesn't start this match, so who knows? I mean, Portugal kind of do thrive on fire and controversy and similar to Uruguay, really ratcheting up a match and unsettling teams. I also don't root for Portugal. I just don't like the way they play or behave. But they'll be a good team, a tough out. Obviously, they have a lot of talent, like sort of non-superstar talent. Um, at least to sort of the outside world. Obviously, you know, Bernardo Silva is fantastic. Bruno is a great player. You've got Cancelo and Felix and Rafael Leao, who's not even starting. This Ramos kid who came on kind of an unknown and scored a hat trick in place of Ronaldo. So they'll be a good team. I expect them to kind of end the party for Morocco, but who the hell knows? And then the big one on Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. You got England versus France. I've got high hopes for this game. I think everybody does. These are two really talented teams. England have played well this World Cup. They may not have really excited too much. I say that, and yet trying to tally up, they've probably scored 15, 17 goals, something like that this World Cup. That might be a little high, but 9 goals just between Iran and Senegal. And yeah, they surely have a lot of attacking talent. I think their defenders, can definitely be gotten at, and obviously with the new media darling Kylian there, who is undeniably, he's just lightning, and he is very, very talented. I have more and more so taken a disliking towards him because I think he's hanging out with Neymar and the PSG boys, and he's becoming a diva, and he's becoming the anointed one, all that. It's just getting kind of tiresome. But again, athleticism is becoming more and more important. He's got that in boatloads. Just at the office today, we're having a discussion about who we felt was faster, Mbappe or Tyreek Hill. The former Chiefs wide receiver, and it's close. I mean, the point is they're just lightning, and it's crazy that just the trend with reporters has just been to interview the um, the outside back that had to cover uh, Mbappe, and they all just say the same thing that you know he earns every penny that he makes at PSG. He's that good. He burns my thighs, yada yada. So he has so much pace, and he's a very good finisher as well. Um, he passed Ronaldo on the scoring charts for World Cup goals, and I think they said he's 14 years younger than him. So clearly, a lot of blue skies ahead for him. Let me actually predict something about the match. I think it's going to be a grinded out, um, low scoring game. I mean, just look at the two managers. You got Southgate and Deschamps. I can't root for France or Deschamps. Uh, he's got so much talent at his disposal. Don't even talk to me about the injuries that he has. He still has so much talent. Chouameni, Kamavinga, Mbappe, Griezmann, Dembele, I'm not really a fan of, but he's just got so much talent still in this France squad, and yet he refuses to play anything but practically speaking. And you really can't say much different about Southgate. I mean, the fact that he's playing Bellingham is about as adventurous as I would expect from him. On paper, playing a 19-year-old. I mean, again, Bellingham is showing that he is the real deal, and he's having a great World Cup as he was expected to do. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of lineup Southgate plays. Will he play Foden? I would like to see him play Foden and Saka. Obviously, I have a hunch that Sterling will play because he's such a trusted player for Southgate. Who will have more of the ball? Not sure, but I think that there's going to be a lot of chess pieces kind of moving, and I hope I'm wrong, but that'll be a really interesting one. Let's see if I want to make a prediction about this. Well, first, let me just say, as I wrap things up here, uh, Brazil, again, I just have to reiterate, are the clear favorite for the rest of the tournament. I do like how I can say my Netherlands are playing. Not a team of superstars necessarily, but they're gelling. Just the same as as Morocco and a team like Croatia. I think they're a type of team that, well, I think I already covered the Netherlands Argentina match, but Netherlands are much more of a team than Argentina are, and I think that stands for something. Um, and I would not be surprised to see a favorite like Argentina go out. But again, we're down to the quarters. It's there are great teams, and just about anybody can knock anybody else out, including Morocco over Portugal. So as I bounce around all these ideas in my head, I think England will go through. I think Portugal will go through. They will play each other, I believe. England, Portugal is that bottom half of the bracket. And then you've got, is it Argentina versus Brazil? I think, I don't know. I'm really hoping and praying for Croatia to put Brazil out, but I think if I were putting money on it, I would have to say Brazil will play Netherlands. Quite happy with that semi-final. I think that will really make for probably the best teams and the best matches to play out through to the final. And I'll stop there with my predictions, but I think those are the four teams I would give you from the quarterfinals. But it's a very exciting time. We're down to the last 8. These are going to be some great games. Really looking forward to them. I will pop on Friday, maybe Saturday, to give some reaction to these matches. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and sticking with me this whole way as World Cup 2022 goes on. It's been a great one. I hope you've been enjoying it. I am Scott here in New Jersey for Beatty's Beat, and I'm going to be signing off. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment, and I will see you on the next video.